Good afternoon, everyone. For those who might know about it, the talk I'm going to give today is about resilience. And the first thing is really maybe to give you a bit of an idea of why I'm so interested in resilience and why my company is so interested in resilience. It comes from my experience over from 2006 onwards when I joined, 2004, when I joined the Royal Marines. It was my first kind of taste of resilience and how important it is to us as people. When I was with the Royal Marines, I served north of tours of Afghanistan as the helmet problems, and I also conducted Arctic warfare training and mountains warfare training with them. Then went on to, as where was Mark Grace, who knows about this, and a few others might. There we are, Mark helped out with this. I then took on a big charity challenge as well in 2014, I think, my memory fails me a little bit, to row around the UK with a crew of 3 other people in an open rowing boat. And again, I started to see this kind of resilience element coming out. From that, and the people I've spoken to, because of my contacts, I was very lucky to get to know people in Special Forces, Metropolitan Police's lead negotiation unit as well, and various other people in high pressure environments. This one thing kept coming up again and again, and it's this idea of resilience. And to me, resilience is the #1 attribute that decides our level of success in life. First off, I'd just like to define what I mean by resilience, because it's a bit of a term that's a bit hard to grasp sometimes. So I've got here, the American Psychological Association defines resilience as: it is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant source of stress. It means bouncing back from difficult experiences. The same definition carries on. The great thing is resilience is not a trait that people either have or do not have. It involves behaviours, thoughts and actions that can be learned and developed in anyone. I'll just read that bit again. It involves behaviours, thoughts and actions that can be learned and developed by anyone. My company, Questlife, that's what we do. In today's world, we are bombarded by an ever-changing world that is difficult for the most tech-savvy of us and the most up-to-date people to try and keep up with. Technology is changing all the time. Our work environments are changing all the time. Restructure after restructuring, companies, businesses, products having to adapt to what's going on out there. You have to be resilient these days to be able to stay in this world and work, and however that is, if you've got business or if you work for a larger company. And that's what we do then at Questlife. We teach structures and frameworks and strategies of how to deal and build resilience. So you're not just relying on how you feel when you get up in the morning, if you get out of bed on the wrong side. There's a way that you can manage your emotions so they don't manage you. And that's what this is all about. Through my study of resilience, I found 3 principles that kind of stand out as the major framework around resilience. And I'll introduce the first one with a little story. There's a lady, Julie Perk, I think her name was. I don't know if anyone knew of her. She's unfortunately hasn't been with us for a long time now. But she was a paediatric nurse, and she noticed an incredible amount of suffering in hospice care, specifically when children were diagnosed with terminal illness. She found that there wasn't really any support there for the families or the children that could really fully support their emotional and psychological needs, and also the more basic needs of how do you have the conversation, how do you cope as a family after it's gone on. At this point, Julie, if you don't know, she's the lady who set up Julie's House later on, just to give you a bit of context. She could have gone and said, it's the government, they've got to sort this out, we'll leave it with them. She could have said, it's the council, they sort that out, it's not up to me. Or the NHS, maybe even another charity or business, it's someone else's responsibility. But she didn't. She took responsibility and said, I need to make this change. There is something wrong in the world, there is a pain that's existing, and it's my responsibility to change this. And that's the very first principle of resilience. It's that fact of taking responsibility. Until we take responsibility, either as a business, because we see a gap in the market, we see as we call it, a pain point that needs to be filled. Until we take responsibility to fulfill that, nothing will happen. If you want to lose weight, or you want to get fit, you want to stop smoking, you want to become more motivated, you want to become more productive, all these things, until you take responsibility, it's up to you to start making those changes. It's up to you to change how you react to the world around you. Nothing will change. I often use the metaphor of a boat at sea, which is quite interesting considering I spent the last 15 minutes chatting to Storm about, she's involved in that, very heavily involved with sailing, very interesting. And I use the metaphor of a boat, and if you're sat in this boat in a stormy sea, and you're sat in the middle of it, and it's chucking you around, the waves are knocking you, the rain's coming down, the wind's blowing you, before you know it, you're going to be lost at sea. And worst case, you're going to drown at sea. However, if you take that step and take that responsibility, it's like, no, I'm going to take charge of the tiller, I'm going to take charge of the grass. So yeah, the sea is going to knock me off course, it is going to blow me over, I am going to get wet, I am going to get cold, it's going to be scary at times, but at least because I know I've got the tiller and I know where I'm heading because of the course, I know I'm heading towards land. So that's the first principle, taking responsibility. The next one is I'd like to start off with a quote with Friedrich Nietzsche, who said, "He who has a why can bear almost any how." And the next thing is very much about, and this is something I'm sure you've all done as businesses, and it's working out what your mission and vision is. What is the purpose of what you do? For Julie, it was, there was a pain there that needed to be fixed, no one else was fulfilling this. And her mission was to make sure that these families and these children had as much support as they could in this absolutely terrible time that I can't even start to imagine what it would be like. She made it her mission to support these families through this time. But more than mission and vision, you need an extra element, and that's that you have to connect to your beliefs and your values. And what that means is basically, yes, Julie did this massive mission of going out and saying, I'm going to cure this pain in the world. But it's kind of like, why? You know, you're going to have to sacrifice so much to do this. You're going to have to sacrifice your life, you're going to have to sacrifice friends and family, potentially time to do whatever you want to do. Why are you going to do all this? And that's where your values come in. I don't know what Julie's is because I never got the opportunity to chat to her, but I can imagine there might have been something along the lines of it meant a lot to her to give back to society. It was hugely important to her to help other people. Hugely important to her to grow. So yeah, she was doing a selfless act, but she was getting something from it as well. She was getting a positive emotion from this. And that's where values are important, because they help us out when we're knocked on our arse and we're tired and we've been going for so long we can't keep going. They remind us of why we started, what it is that we're going for, and why we keep putting ourselves through this. So that's the second principle of it, which is your mission and vision linked very strongly to your beliefs and your values. The final principle is creativity. I don't necessarily mean just creativity in the sense of the artist who, you know, is drawing a picture, or creativity as in the author in that way. I'll bring it back to a little bit of my own experience. Is that I served with the British Forces, obviously I served with the Royal Marines, and considered some of the best armed forces in the entire world. And the reason we're considered some of the best armed forces in the world is our ability to adapt and be creative in the face of adversity. We generally have bad supplies, equipment that doesn't work, weapons that have a tendency to jam. We have all this stuff going on, but still we manage more and more than anyone else to get the mission done. I think last time, I haven't checked this in a long time, but I think we're still the only nation to be able to beat a guerrilla force in their own country. The reasons behind it weren't great, but still, we were the first to be able to do it. We won't look at the politics at the moment. And it's that creativity and adaptability. But at the same time, no one in here, I'm guessing, is going to think armed forces, creativity, the two don't really go together. But they have got an ability to get the job done. And the reason they have that is that they have creativity inside a structure of very robust frameworks. And that's where it counts. Because you can't be creative if you're just surviving. If you're in that boat in the middle of nowhere and you're drowning, you can't be creative because all you're thinking about is how the hell do I survive, how do I keep swimming. There's nothing else going on in there. However, if you have robust frameworks to take care of the day-to-day thinking of what you need to do. So for example, when I went over to Helmand, went straight into a very tense situation. The previous regiment we took over from had been absolutely hammered. They were on the back foot. This is back in 2005, before it was making it into the newspapers. And we were losing. The Taliban were winning, without a doubt. Our mission, my regiment, as I went over there, was to get back mobility on the ground. We had to get the enemy on the back foot. As soon as we landed in Afghan, we were ready. We knew how to take care of ourselves. Basics. We had to cook and eat when there was nothing available. We knew how to do something if one of my operators got hurt. I knew how to cannulate him. I knew how to look after any serious injuries. If we got contacted and we were in a firefight, I knew how to react. I knew the guy next to me knew how to react. I knew the troop next to me knew how to react. When my vehicle got blown up in my very first outing in Afghan, I knew how to react, and I knew the rest of my group of guys all knew how to react. Which meant that I didn't need to be thinking about any of this. This was all programmed in. I had a framework. Oh, I'm getting shot at. Okay, dodge, get down, low cover, return fire. It's all in there. Frameworks, follow the framework, frees up my thinking. We can think about the strategy. How do we overcome the enemy? They've ambushed us, they've surprised us, they've immobilised my vehicle. We've got to get rid of the vehicle. There's all these things going on that need creativity to solve. And that's where it comes in. It's having a framework to make sure that the hard or the easy stuff is taken care of. We've got a step-by-step process, don't need to worry about that. So we can spend our time worrying about the big stuff and coming up with creative ideas. Taking it back to the business world, you see this same principle used by some of the best in the business. Steve Jobs, who unfortunately isn't with us anymore, he wore one outfit. That was, one small element of his framework. He didn't just wear literally one outfit. He had multiple of the same outfit. Well, I'm assuming he did anyway. So he had that to lessen the cognitive load. He didn't need to think every morning. Like I'm sure, I did this morning. I'm sure most of us do. It's like, okay, what shirt am I wearing? What jeans am I wearing? What belt am I wearing? What shoes am I wearing? All that was taken care of. It's just one, done. That's why a lot of the most successful people have a morning routine. You get out of bed at this time. You eat breakfast at this time. You do your meditation. You do your exercise. Whatever it is, set routine. And so you're ready then to start dealing with the challenges of the day. All that thinking that we all spend time every day going, what should I have for breakfast? What should I do this? Then it's taken away. We're saving energy. We only have X amount of energy to make thoughts and ideas and creativity in our brain. And by the end of the day, I'm sure we've all been there when we're trying to look at a simple problem at the computer, and however much we stare at it, it just won't solve itself. You come back to it the next morning like, oh God, yeah, why did I spend 2 hours on that? That is so blatantly simple. But we just haven't got the cognitive resources to deal with it. So that's creativity. But frameworks also sit inside creativity. There is actually frameworks to be creative. Let's not leave that down to chance. Walt Disney, he didn't just go into his office and think, I'm going to just rely on myself being creative today. I'm going to come up with some ideas, draw a few cartoons, it's all going to be great. He had a set framework he did every time. He split it into sections. He had the dreamer. I'm just going to dream as wild as I can, as big ideas as I can, no restrictions on technology or anything like that. I'm not worried about that. We're just going to dream. Then he'd take him and his team, they'd go to a different room and they would plan. It's like, how are we going to make this dream become reality? Can't touch the dream stays, that's done, that's been finished. We've got a plan. And once they had a plan, then they'd take it to another area and then they'd criticise it. And unfortunately we have something very similar, we call it red teaming it. So we try to pull the plan to pieces and to come out, what is wrong with this idea, where doesn't it work? Back to the planner, how does it work? Keep going backwards and forwards until you get a little bit of happiness between the two. A framework for creativity. Don't rely on just being able to do these things. Help yourselves out, frameworks to be able to do these. So they're the 3 principles. As I said, that's the big framework that sits on resilience. That kind of comes down from there. It's taking responsibility. Nothing happens until we take responsibility of that problem, or whatever it is in ourselves, or society, wherever it is. Nothing will change until you go, I am going to do something about that. The second one is having a mission and vision, which is deeply linked to your beliefs and your values, so that when the hard times come, you can be able to get yourself up and keep moving. I think the quote is from a very famous actor, was that it doesn't matter how many times you get punched, how many times you get knocked down, and keep getting up and moving forward, that counts. That's Rocky Balboa, by the way. And the final one is creativity with inside a robust framework to be able to come up with great ideas to move forward. So they're the 3 principles. If any of you are interested in sort of exploring this a bit further, any more detail in it at all, I do a weekly email called the Resilience Weekly, and in it what I try to do is give you strategies, tactics and, surprisingly enough, frameworks to build your resilience. I do it through different methods, asking questions that get you to think a little bit and look inside and question the things that we take for granted. Providing frameworks to work through, so to frameworks for decision making, creativity, other areas. Occasionally inspiring story to make us think, yes, actually, we can do this. If others have done it, we can do it. And the last one is accountability. On a Wednesday at 3 o'clock, that email will be in your inbox. So that's my accountability to you, and it's accountability to yourselves as well, to carry on moving forward with whatever it is that you decide that you're going to do. So hopefully I'll be able to send an email around, I think. Is that right? Someone from the Bournemouth Chamber, sort of the end is there. So if you are interested in signing up for that, then the link will be there for it. One just last little bit as well. I myself, and I don't know if anyone knows Tricia Lewis in here. So we're presenting a public speaking workshop at the end of June, which is I'll be dealing with the anxiety that often people get with public speaking and helping how to reduce it, tactics, frameworks to put in place. Tricia is a communications expert. She'll be talking about how to deliver that message with impact and power and influence. It's a 2-day workshop. If you're interested in it, or you think someone in your organisation might be interested in it, I have some information leaflets up here. Feel free just to help yourself and have a chat with me afterwards. But I hope that's been informative, giving you a few ideas about how to continue to build your own resilience. If you're hitting low times, how to keep moving forward. Just to have those 3 principles in mind is a big step. Responsibility, mission and vision connected to your beliefs and your values, and finally creativity within inside your frameworks. Thank you very much. Any questions at all? Obviously I explained so magically well. Not one. That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.